Previously on the Coastal Queen restoration.
When we received the boat, we also received a book of photographs that illustrated prior work that had been done to the boat. The unique thing about the Coastal Queen is she's a classic Chesapeake Bay dead rise construction, which consists of a fore and aft planking system on frames above the chine. But in the bottom of the boat, from the chine to the keel, is a cross planking system.
First week of October here at McMillan Yachts, and we have the Coastal Queen that got brought in our building here about a week and a half ago. She's a Chesapeake buy boat, 72 feet long and 21-foot beam.
One of the challenges that we have here with a boat like the Coastal Queen is the difference in her construction. In most of the consolidated yachts that we've been restoring to date, it's a fore and aft planking system. And with the cross planking system that the Chesapeake Bay buy boat, it presents unique challenges that we're, in some cases, just now solving for the first time.
The only way to replace the bones of the boat, the keel, the stringers, and all the necessary structural elements is to remove the entire interior.
Green's trying to get this engine free. In order to get to the keel, which desperately needed to be replaced, we needed to remove all the bulkheads and the doors attached to those bulkheads and the sole bearers.
At least Corey gave us the option.
There was nothing so vital to the history of Coastal Queen down there in the hull of the boat that was worth us going through and saving.
The condition of the keel, just to cut straight to the chase, is marginal at best. It just was so banged up and cut into so many short pieces, it has no longitudinal contribution. It's not a reparable situation. It will mean a replacement of the keel.
The process now that the interior has been gutted is to first strengthen it all. Without the interior in, the hull is a little bit more wiggly than we would want it to be, and certainly is not strong enough to be able to lift the entire boat sort of from its shoulders, which is what we're needing to do to remove the keel, the bottom of the boat.
Because we've removed so much so far and in the process of taking the keel out, we're losing a lot of the integrity of the boat. So these trusses, if you will, have been put in where they're connecting the deck beams, keeping the camber in that. They're coming down and tying into the top sides to keep the shape. We don't want to lose the shape while the chine is being rebuilt. The reason we had to replace the frames is down low here, they're notched around the chine, and the chine has a tremendous amount of rot in it here, and then it spread into the frames and then just worked its way up. So here's our bottom planking here, coming up under the chine, running out where the exposed grain is. This is an extremely important part of how the frames connect to the chine and the chine connects to the bottom planking. And this was all in pretty tough shape. So we are working more to get a lot of this stuff taken out of the boat and replaced. The galley's a little different than it was a month ago. We've now got this LVL beam running through here with the brackets. You can see some of the threaded rods running down through here. We've peeled the carpet back, and there'll be another 1-inch threaded rod running through the deck and to grab the deck beams below. Down below you can see more of this cross bracing. We've got the brackets here that we've talked about, the LVLs running across for their supports, and this is going to get tensioned up. This is a new knee, a new laminated deck beam that was installed here. This is the front of the house. It was sagging quite a bit. It all got propped back up and this installed in place.
If you could find, we need a plate a washer, and a nut from Dan for the main gantry. 4 feet will get all 3 beams. A lot of the deck beams here have, in the last refit, deck beams were bad, so what they did was they sistered them on either side, which is to put, an equivalent amount of wood on either side of the beam and bolt it all together through the beam. Part of the problem with that, though, is that a lot of the original fasteners for these original beams were mild steel, which rusts and causes a condition called iron sickness in the wood. It delignifies the wood, like the glue that holds the cells together. And what could potentially happen with these old beams having mild steel in them is that iron sickness, I described it, it can spread. It just keeps spreading in wood. It can spread like cancer almost. It can spread to the new beams. We actually just removed one frame today that was just kind of sitting there with a bunch of iron in it. We removed it so it doesn't go to the new planking. But any iron we can get out of this boat, we will. So what Stephen and Johnny are doing right now, you can see our lower laminate. They have it, it's taken away. We've pre-drilled some screws, so it's not going to be too messy. And they are spreading epoxy on that lower laminate. We're going to put it back up against the thicker beam there and glue it up. And we've got one more to do after this. We're going to be replacing 4 deck beams in Coastal Queen here. They're going to be laminated like this because we just can't cut a hole in the side of the boat to get a regular sized beam in there. So we cut several layers, 5 layers in this case, 1-inch thick pieces of white oak, and we glue them together with a special glue for hard to glue woods. This is going to strengthen our deck. It's going to actually, this beam right here holds up the forward of the house on top of us. There's 3 beams above the engine that are not in great condition, so we got some approval for that in the last week to replace those.
So in order to support the top of the boat while we change out the bottom, hold the boat's shape as well as support the weight, we needed to know where the weight was and how much the weight was. So when we hauled her in the cradle with the travel lift, we could record the weight of the boat at each individual strap, which gave us a range across the length of the boat. 47,000 pounds aft, 40,000 pounds in the middle, and she was about another 40,000 pounds on the forward strap. We can back out the weight of the cradle and end up with the weight of the actual boat by itself, and from that, design a series of legs and cross beams that we could then reach down and support not only the weight, but the shape of the hull above the chines.
So it's the 17th of February, and we are just closing in on getting the boat fully supported, independent of its bottom. My name's Dan. I'm one of the shipwrights here at Macmillan Yachts. I've been here for about 15 years, and I just do whatever's needed, whether it's heavy timber work or finished carpentry. Do all of it. This is one of the brackets to help hold the boat up.
So right now we're making up one of these vertical legs that's going to hang off the side of the boat, or it's going to connect off the side of the boat to help support from the outside. We're catching underneath the rub rail, and we have metal brackets against it that are then going to hold up a lot of the weight. Once this beam and the next beam opposite it are in, we should be able to just have the boat pull the cradle down and have the boat levitating.
So having the boat fully supported, independent of the bottom, will allow us then to remove the entire bottom and begin the work.